All right, welcome back to Think for a Change. Glad you all came back. Today we're going to start to practice a technique that we use to help get along with other people. Those are called social skills. Have you all heard of social skills before?
Yep.
Yeah.
Not really.
Not really? Okay. What do you think are social skills? Give me an example of a social skill.
Well, like being polite, saying thank you and saying please, and
Okay, so
getting along with others.
responding to people.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other social skills? Can you think of any? Things we do to help us get along with other people, or things we do to help us get what we want?
We give them things.
We give them things, yes. We give things to other people. Asking questions. How about that? Do we use asking questions to help us get what we want and help us get along with other people?
Yep.
Yes.
We listen.
We listen, active listening. Listening is a way to help us get what we want and help get along with other people, sure. So social skills are skills and abilities that help us get along with other people. It's what we use when we deal with other people. So good social skills help us maximize what we want. Bad social skills usually don't put us in a good position, but good social skills help us minimize negative responses from other people. So you think it's good to have social skills?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes?
Sounds good.
Sounds good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So we're gonna talk about social skills. Remember in our first lesson, we talked about how we're gonna fill our pockets up with tools that we are gonna use to help us stay out of future problems. So social skills are just some of those skills that we're gonna put in our pockets to help us get along with other people. So we're gonna start thinking for a change by focusing on our social skills. So let's this is what we can expect in each lesson. This is how we'll process the social skills lessons. First, we'll do our homework review. After each skill, you'll get a homework assignment, and you're gonna be expected to go home and practice the social skill. Like we talked about in the last lesson, practicing over and over and over gets you a lot more comfortable with doing it, and helps you incorporate that skill in your everyday life. We're gonna learn a new social skill. We're gonna model that skill. Me and the co-facilitator will model that skill, and then you all will get an opportunity to role play the skill and receive feedback on your role play, and then you're gonna get the homework assignment for the next lesson. So that's the order that we'll follow for our social skills. So let's go and talk about our first social skill, which is active listening.
That's what I said.
That's exactly what you said. So what does active listening mean to you?
Actively listening.
And what does it require to actively listen?
Well, you have to listen.
You have to listen. Anything else?
You have to have somebody speaking.
Yes. Good.
Pay attention.
You gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention. You gotta listen, you gotta pay attention. So let's define active listening. Active listening is an active way of hearing what another person is saying to you. Have you ever been in situations where you've been talking to someone and you don't really think they're listening or they're hearing what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah?
All the time.
All the time?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
might that other person be doing to give you a clue that
On their cell phone.
they're on their phone? So if you're talking to someone and they're on their phones, you think they're actively listening?
Well, they could be.
They could be.
You know,
They
they
could
could
be.
do two things at once.
They could, but does it give you the impression that they're listening?
Sometimes not.
Sometimes not. So active listening, again, social skills, things we use to help us get along with other people and things we use to help us get what we want. So we're gonna define it again as an active way of hearing what another person is saying to you. So there are steps in each skill that we're talking about. There are specific steps that make up that skill, things you have to go through to achieve that skill. So let's look at the 4 skills of active listening. But before we do that, let's talk about a couple other things. We're gonna have 2 types of steps. In all of the social skills that we're talking about, we'll have 2 types of steps. We'll have thinking steps and we'll have action steps. Thinking steps are things that are going on inside your head that other people can't see, okay? The thoughts that are going on in your head. Action steps are things that you're actually doing that people can't see you're doing. So for thinking steps, anything that goes on in your head that people can't see, but is part of your thought process, we're gonna share that with each other by putting our fingers up to our temples like that. So that's a thinking step. So are you thinking anything right now?
No.
No, nothing?
Not really.
Are you
No.
thinking anything right now?
A little bit.
A little bit. So in the case of our social skills, whatever you're thinking would be your inside thoughts, and you will put your fingers up to your head, but we're gonna talk out loud about what's going on inside of our head. That's how we'll demonstrate a thinking step. And action steps are things that you actually say or do that other people can see, okay? So we have thinking steps and we have action steps. So let's look at the 4 steps of active listening. Somebody wanna read the first step for me?
Look at the person who is talking.
Okay, look at the person who's talking. Okay, is that a thinking step or an action step?
Action.
It's an action step. You can tell when someone's looking at you, right? Right, absolutely. Somebody wanna read the second one for me?
Think about what is being said.
Think about what's being said. Is that a thinking step or an action step?
Thinking.
It's a thinking step. People can't hear what's going on in your heads, so that's something that's a thinking step, and you will put your fingers up to your head when you demonstrated that part of the skill. Somebody wanna read the third one?
Wait for your turn to talk.
Wait your turn to talk. Is that a thinking step or an action step?
Step.
Action step. Can someone tell when you're waiting to talk?
Yes.
Sure, of course they can. Because you aren't saying anything, it's presumed that you're waiting your chance to talk. So it's an action step. And want to read the last one for us?
Say what you want to say.
Say what you want to say. Is that a thinking step or an action step?
That's an action.
That's an action step. Okay. So those are the 4 steps to active listening. Those are the 4 steps to active listening. So now we're going to demonstrate these steps and the social skill by engaging in a role play. So my co-facilitator is going to come up here right now.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So that wait for your turn to talk, could that be a thinking step too? Like, you have to think, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna wait.
It's actually an action step because people can see you waiting your turn to talk.
Okay.
They can see you waiting your turn to talk. While you're waiting, you're probably still going to be thinking about what's being said, but you aren't going to say anything because you're not going to interrupt the other person talking to show them that you are actively listening.
So you're taking an action of waiting.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. Cut.